was Allah's will that this happened. Okay? So don't despair. I should have done this. I should have done this. I should have done this. It was Allah wrote it. Okay? And then, likewise, if something great happens to me, I can't start thinking, I am so awesome, this happened because of my skill. No, it happened because Allah chose to give it to me. So, the real purpose of predestination is not for me to think about my actions, because my actions I'm responsible for. The real issue is so I can either cope, to make it easy for me to cope with loss, or so I don't become arrogant over gain. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
So I wanted to say that I don't remember who was telling me this, but they were talking, or maybe it was you, I'm not sure. There was
if it was
some
nonsense,
story,
it was probably me.
there was some story about like some individual who went through like this whole series of events, including like killing people and like blah blah blah, like stuff that just seemed like wrong, you know.
Okay.
And then when you look at the back, so those facts are there,
Okay.
and some of them may be sinful by definition, but so the idea is that those things are predestined to happen, you know. But again, we don't know. There's a lot to be said that is unseen, you know. So there was something about how this individual killed a child, you know, but that child would have grown up and done all this like badness.
Well, it's Hitler at least.
Yes.
Surah Kahf.
So it's Kahf. That's right. So then that's the idea is that, you know, like even though things are predestined, like the story behind it, the heart behind it, the intentions behind it, that stuff's not visible to us, you know.
Okay.
So I think that I think personally that Allah makes sense, and I don't think there's like, even if there's favoritism, there's a price that we pay for it. It's not like the Prophet was just handed on a platter. Here's Jannah.
Fine.
There's a lot that he went through.
Sure.
And you know what it is that at the same time Allah he made him such that he was going to succeed, but it was the Prophet's choice to actually follow through on it. That's what I feel.
I mean,
He was protected from
this.
it. He was protected from it. But I think it all makes sense. I think that we can't say that, oh, there's just this, like, if there's an X factor, I think even that makes sense, even though we don't understand it.
Okay, but that doesn't negate my point back here that Allah can give mercy to whomever He wills with no explanation. That's His authority.
But
But
not
it's
the
like,
explanation.
it's not an
doesn't mean that it's not
explanation
just.
that we need to understand,
Exactly.
but he has his own, like,
But what if there is none?
But why do we have to think that way, though?
he's
I'm
saying that
saying,
there
why
doesn't
don't
have
we?
I think the idea
Okay.
to say that there's no explanation is that we may not understand it, but we have to accept that it's just.
I get what you're saying there, right? But you're still putting it within the boundaries of justice. I'm saying that's putting a boundary on Allah Ta'ala unnecessarily. Yeah. But that's a separate conversation. We're still not done here. You understand the coping part.
Are you saying it's like predestination is just like a coping mechanism then?
So, in
It's a
terms
way
of
to cope.
practical life, okay, this predestination, free will conversation is abstract, right? Practically speaking, you know you have free will, or at least some degree of free will. You can't decide when you're going to be born, right? You can't decide when you're going to die, even if you try, right? Okay. There's some things you can't control, but essentially you're making your own choices. Okay. But when I lose something, when I gain something, when I lose something, it is the practical side is for coping. That, you know, rather than me think, oh, you know, if only I did this, that he would still be alive, right? Okay, it's Allah's will. Okay. So this helps me cope with it.
It's a coping mechanism then.
Yeah.
From our
It can be used
perspective,
to-
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just had this other thought.
Okay. And I'm afraid to hear what other thought is. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to say that, like, okay, so if we're saying Allah is just, right? I can accept this much, that some people are, you know, they are given the tools to be a certain way, and some people may be lacking, right? So that in itself limits your capacity to achieve the same thing for every individual across time. Like you can't, if we're saying justice doesn't mean equality, maybe justice doesn't mean equality. You know what I mean? So it's not like everyone was given the exact same tools,
Okay.
and then, you know, I think everyone's struggle is different, you know?
So far, so good.
I don't know. My point is just, I don't, I think that
The
to
key
say that,
difference here that we're making is you're saying that in
how is
some
it
way.
fair? I guess how is
Yeah,
it fair? Because
you're
you
saying
can
in
ask the
some way
question.
his mercy is bound by justice, and I'm saying his mercy is not bound by justice. Right? I'm saying justice is one of his mercies, but not his only mercy. So you're using justice as a flashlight. I'm using mercy as a flashlight.
I think I understand it from rather than from the perspective of like the akhirah, from you know, the dunya.
Dunya is easy to understand, right? you know,
But
no
then,
matter how hard Omer tries, he's not going to be as cool as I am, right? Because Allah Ta'ala may have given you more coolness, right? Okay. Okay, maybe I'll distract. We're saying in dunya, Allah Ta'ala definitely seems to give mercy to whomever He wills. Some people have more wealth, some people have more chances of guidance.
see,
more,
that
some
makes
people-
sense to me because that's a parent. But I feel like the you know, to balance the scale, but to say there's this X factor that doesn't count on the scale, I don't
Yeah.
think that's fair. And I think Allah's fair.
But you can
Well-
give everybody that unlimited mercy. if
That's
you
what I'm
want.
saying,
So you
yeah.
getting something doesn't take away from anyone else.
It
The key
doesn't.
point that I'm making is that it doesn't take away anything from anything.
So
Because
you don't need to
here's
be
how you're taking it.
concerned.
You're saying that, all right, if He's giving mercy to that person just because He wills, okay, with no explanation, right, no logic that I don't understand, just no explanation, He is giving Omer something in Akhirah that He's not giving me, then you're saying, well, that's not fair, so why should I even try? That's what you're basically saying. And I'm saying, no, He's still giving you whatever you earn. Okay? But, I mean, part of it is you're using the flashlight of justice as the limitation. I'm using the flashlight of mercy. I'm saying justice is within the flashlight of mercy. You're saying mercy has to be within the flashlight of justice. Because I'm saying the default is mercy. The default is not justice. Okay. Anyway, society. Most societies will be one way or the other. Free will or predestination. Like if you go to the subcontinent, which one do we see more of?
Predestination.
Kismat. Right? Many kismat kharabe. Okay? Right? Now there's a couple issues here. One, in such a society, as a scholar, as a teacher, as a preacher, if the society is more focused on this, my responsibility is to push people to say, no, you are responsible for your condition. Okay? For multiple reasons. I spelled will wrong. For multiple reasons. One is that every society has its own version of Islam. Okay, we all pray the same. Okay? But the theology in the minds, people of the minds, in the subcontinent is one thing. In Saudi Arabia, it's something. In America, it's something different. Right? All of us pray exactly the same way. All the ibadah is exactly the same. But how we understand Islam in our minds is different in each place. Okay? Now, what you commonly find is in places where you have fatalism. Okay? You're suffering, then the whole theological system is created related to your condition. That okay, you're suffering because Allah loves you, so stay in that condition. Okay? My job is to say no. It's your responsibility to change your condition. It's your responsibility to change the condition of the people around you. Okay? Because who is going to preach you're poor because Allah loves you? Who's going to preach that? The people in power. Okay? The people in power will push the ethic, the idea that you're poor, you're suffering because Allah loves you, but make sure you pay your taxes. Okay? We're saying religion is also a tool for power. And my responsibility is, if I see that in a society, is to push people to understand, no, you are responsible for your condition. You see what I'm saying? What is the situation here in America?
Free will.
It's this is interesting because in America, it's almost that we're predestined to be the leaders of the world, right? Because we're America, we're number one. And there, what idea you have to push is responsibility. Okay. You see what I'm saying? This last point. So the first issue, free will predestination. The actual textbook Sunni answers that they're both true. Ayah 6 and 7 are both true, meaning, however you want to look at it, one's not causing the other. They're both just true. Okay. 6 is not causing 7, 7 is not causing 6, they're both true. Okay. But when you move into the practical realm, you start with what is concrete. I know I have free will, which means I know I'm going to be held to account for my choices. Okay. And then the next concrete issue is predestination gives me rahmah by helping me to cope with my difficulty or helping me not become arrogant. But then if you have a society where everyone's focused on free will, that's the notion, usually that society is being held down or people are being held down. My responsibility is to lift them up by saying, no, you're responsible. Okay. Any thoughts? I can take this further.
Here,
I
like,
think I'm going to blow your minds. Yeah.
like 6 follows like 7, like you know, what I'm like it's first 6.
So you're saying
and
one
then-
comes first, therefore one is causing the next.
Yeah.
But what if I say one is caused by the next? Right? Yeah.
I don't know anything.
Okay, I'm saying if this is not an issue for you, you don't need to worry about it, but I'm saying overall in our society, this is the biggest issue of them all. Okay. Any questions? Yeah, I think I've flattened all of you. Okay. If all you know is I have free will, whatever Allah does is beyond my understanding, then that's sufficient. Okay. What?
I was just gonna say, going back to the mercy point.
Yeah.
What I think when you framed it a little bit differently,
Yeah.
like I think in the first one we framed it in a way that like it sounded very like it sounded like we were taking away mercy from somebody.
Yeah,
But
you're
in the
not-
second one, you framed it again differently, where it's just boundless mercy. And I think if you frame it that way, even though it's the same thing, maybe kind of that you were
Could be
saying.
semantic difference.
Yeah, I
could be.
think the second time it's just we framed it as boundless mercy, and I think that makes more sense. That it's not the like Allah's mercy is not bounded even by His own justice. I think that makes sense. Like I still believe that like. You know, Allah will look at the state of your heart and all of this, and that's what He's basing His mercy on. But even for someone who doesn't deserve it, maybe, there's something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will, inshallah, just grant them mercy anyway. And okay, so it's just like,
Okay,
it's
so-
ability to give more. Okay.
So, what do you think of this scenario? Okay, so there's. Sorry?
I'm like done.
He's like, yeah,
I just-
my brain's done. Just one simple scenario. Okay, so 6 people here, 7 people here. Okay, and He gives all of us what we earn. Okay, but on top of that, He gives every one of us more than what we earn. But He still decides to give Nadia more than He gives me without any reason. He's giving me more than what I've earned. So let's say He gives me 10 units more. He gives Nadia 20 units more, with no reason except this is His choice. What do you think? Is that
I think that
soft or is
Allah,
that
I'm
easier?
sure, has a reason for it.
Oh,
I
yeah,
wouldn't
yeah, fine,
question
fine.
it.
Okay,
And I
so
wouldn't
nothing's
question it.
changed. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
The key.
It's just
so-
not my business to know that. Like it's not my concern, and I
Because
think
you
that
still
also
got
allows-
what you deserved, and you're still like happy, right?
That's the key.
But still, you're saying Allah has a reason for it. And his point is
But
that
His will, His reason.
But
There's
his
no
will,
reason.
But His will,
Mayasha means
I know.
there's no reason.
Yeah. So
It's
His
beyond our
reason
realm.
can be that. Meaning, what we ultimately have to accept is that His reason can be.
I think what we're
just
trying to
because
do
He
is
wills.
break our will here, and I think that if you go into it knowing that, then we don't have to do that. We know that Allah is, perfect. So we don't have to question it. I don't know. I mean, I just feel like it's one of those arguments
Oh,
that
wait,
instead
we
of
have-
Hi-yo.
We have the satellite link up. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, sorry, I'm trying to keep hold of my thoughts here. So if we consider that Allah, it's just Allah's prerogative, really, to just do what He wants, and He can give mercy or blessings to some over others, just because it's His prerogative. I think that the conflict that arises in my mind is that, like the Greek gods were like these jealous,
Exactly, yeah.
like guys that did things on whim just because they felt like it. And I don't feel that my understanding is that's not our, teaching of, who Allah is. And so when we talk about, Allah can just do it because He wills it, I think that that's an association I know that my mind makes, is that, well, is He just like, flippant and like running around just doing stuff because He feels like it?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. Right? And then I have a second one, and I have to say it now before I forget. The second part is a question kind of that, does that also apply to the reverse, where Allah would just cut people off from
Okay.
His guidance just because He wills it?
Okay.
I mean, that's or does everybody have opportunity? I mean, we
Okay.
wouldn't know who has opportunity for guidance, who doesn't.
Okay.
But is that something that's described in the Quran as a characteristic of Allah, that He
Okay.
just cuts people off because He wants to?
Okay. So answering the second question, we're going to see when we get to Ayah 26 that the default state that Allah Ta'ala has with everyone is guidance, right? Except for those who take a path of misguidance. So the default state for everyone is guidance, except for people of misconduct. So we're saying in terms of what Allah Ta'ala is giving us, no, He does not take guidance away from anybody, except for those people who choose misguidance. But back to the point about the sense that it seems like Allah Ta'ala is flippant. Obviously, we're not saying that. We are saying that no one's going to get less than what they earn. right? That's the key.
I think also like I think because that's how I was thinking about it initially when you gave that first example, and I think when you said it secondly as just boundless mercy, it makes more sense to me. Like for example, everyone trying to get into heaven, right? So it's like everyone gets what they deserve. Allah gives them even more mercy. But suppose there's a person who has nothing that like allows him, or no action that really makes him deserving of heaven, but Allah still gives him mercy. And I think that's a better way to think of it, rather than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being like flip.
It's the same point, isn't it?
It's the same point, but I think it's just
It's an easy way to
set
say
it, and it set it in a way.
But you're putting a scenario that Allah doesn't put it in. Allah's not saying that. He's not saying that you guys may be equal, but I may give one of you more. He's saying I will do what I will. He's not saying what you're saying, though.
Okay, but isn't that?
I think that's what
I disagree.
Okay, fine. If that's acceptable to you, then
No, but what I'm
mission
saying is
accomplished as far as I'm
creating
concerned.
scenarios that Allah did not create. We don't have the right to do that. All He says is that He does what He wills, and we have to accept it. That doesn't mean that He's going to give someone more or less if they have the exact same scenario. He's not saying that.
But I'm saying he's saying that.
No, but I mean, give it to whoever He wills. But I mean, that may include your example, but I don't think that's the point of it, though. I think
But
that's
don't you think like someone
Again, if all I know is I'm responsible for my actions, then that's sufficient, right? And then the predestination part, the practical result, is to help me cope or to prevent me from becoming
I think
arrogant.
this is one of those things where, like, those examples that, like, I just feel like I could just be like, I'm not even Muslim listening to this because it just makes me angry. Like,
Why?
look, like if you say somebody does everything right and then they do one thing wrong, Allah's like, you're going to hell.
But no one is saying that.
No, but there are stories like this, and so
Okay.
what that does is it takes away any kind of logical, like, explanation of things,
Okay.
and I think that that's wrong to do that. I think
Okay,
that
but
yes, Allah can
but
do.
that's
Logical
But
by
Allah can
whose
do whatever
standard,
He
though?
wants. I understand that, but I think I am bounding His. I feel like it's boundless. I understand that, but I think your example, I don't know. It just does not
fine,
really
that's
right.
fine.
mercy,
That's
not
fine.
doing things like you're like you could do everything right, and then Allah could,
But
I
those
don't
examples
think,
are.
I think he never says the negative. I think like
It's
the
always
second
like
question
a
that
extra
No,
mercy.
there
She
are.
asked about-
There's those examples of like one person did everything right, but they did this one thing he didn't like, so he sent them to hell.
No,
And then
there's
there's
no example like that.
and then this person did everything wrong, but they fed a cat, so they went to heaven.
Do you have a problem with that side? That's
I
definitely
don't. I
the-
don't have. I don't have an exact.
I don't
But
think
I don't
that's
have an
definitely-
example. I don't have a problem with that at all because I feel like that person who's in that scenario, we have no understanding of what challenges they had. So whatever their actions are, we can't judge them. That's
What's your
Allah's
example
hands.
of the other,
What's
though?
the
Because
first
I
one?
haven't
So
heard that.
there was like, what was it? Like there was a person who all they did is they sat in their house and all they did is read Quran, and then there was another person did a bunch of wrong stuff and then fed a cat. The first person goes to hell, the second person goes to heaven. But I feel like
Yeah, I've never heard the first.
you've never heard of
one.
this one? But there are stories like that where someone does
I'm saying
everything right.
I don't know of a single story like that. The second story, there's a bunch of stories like that.
What's the second story?
The second
About,
story
like,
is
mercy
the
for
woman
no
who does everything
reason.
wrong, but she fed a cat, or
Because
the
I think it was
guy
a comparison
who
about
felt
it. Do you
to
know what
fed
I'm
a dog.
talking about? Where they
I know. I
compare
just
somebody
have heard that part of
think-
it, but there was more depth to the hadith.
There's more
the
depth to it,
hadith.
but
Yeah.
there is. I don't know what exactly is, but I feel like we grew up with these examples of like.
Yeah, that's a different thing. I mean, what you're being taught as you're growing
But
up.
the
That's
reality
part of
is-
the point of the course is to
I think-
fix all that. Yeah.
I think it's like he only said in the positive.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
it's
only
only
speaking
for
of
the
the positive.
positive where
Not speaking of
this
the negative.
person totally does not deserve heaven. Everyone who deserves heaven is going to heaven. But if somebody who doesn't deserve it, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to like
By our
tip the
standards.
balance
By
and
our
give them
standards
more
is
than
what
they
we're saying.
deserve. And it's not that they deserved it, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants I don't know.
See, to
he
me,
wants
like
everyone
I feel
to-
like I feel like there's something logical about it because to take something away from someone and then expect them to do the same.
Okay, but that no one has said that, right? I keep emphasizing nothing's going to be taken away from you.
It's like
That's
No, no, no.
I don't
think
think
so. I'm saying like in the
Okay.
dunya, if you put someone at a severe disadvantage and expect them to like perform at a level of excellence, whereas somebody else is given everything and they perform excellence. Obviously, there's factually one person has gotten to that level, the other person hasn't.
Okay.
But I feel like that the person who hasn't, every little thing that they did counts for so much more.
So,
But
is it?
But to have mercy on that person and give them more would make sense to me.
So is it not true? Isn't it true that you
I
have
feel like
two
there's, like-
people who are reciting Quran, one for whom it's easy, and the other person it's a struggle for them. The second person gets double reward.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I mean that's the narration. right?
Right? I
Okay.
feel like that makes sense
But-
to me is what I'm saying.
But we're not saying that the first person gets less.
I don't think they should, but see, but see,
But
you're
that's what I've been saying the entire
no,
time.
you're not though, because you're saying that two people are exactly the same. It's
Okay.
it's like two people are reciting Quran. It's easy for both of them, but then one of them gets more mercy and gets more.
Okay.
I feel like Allah's not
You're saying
that,
that-
though.
You're
But what I
comparing
think
it,
what
like,
you're trying
more
to say-
compared to the first one, but they're both
No.
getting what they.
Ifat, I think what you're trying to say is that if one person gets more mercy than someone else, that person is somehow negatively impacted.
Yeah.
And what he's trying to say is that there's no one is negatively impacted.
Nobody on the day. of
Let's
judgment
take
will ever be
children.
negatively
Children.
impacted.
Okay, let's take 10 kids. You tell the kids clean your room, right? You clean your room. You all get chocolate for dessert, right? They all clean their room. They all come. You give them all chocolate. You give one a little more chocolate. Are the other
But see,
nine?
I'm saying
Are the other 9 negatively
But I think
impacted?
even if
But
I'm
here's the point. You know there will be some kids who feel they're being slighted,
Yeah.
but are they really being slighted? That's the question for
And
us.
I think even thinking about it in terms of heaven and hell is helpful because I think what the point is they're all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving mercy even to the people who don't deserve it, and inshallah allowing them to enter heaven as well. I think that's a good way to,
One
because
thing-
you're trying to get everyone to heaven. I think.
See, we don't have knowledge of
that's what I
everything.
think. I think we're
Allah
trying
knows.
to explain something
And
that
Allah, if He is giving mercy to someone, we may not think He deserves it, but Allah knows He deserves it.
Okay.
but he's saying that he doesn't
And,
deserve
no,
it.
He can do. See,
No,
He
he's-
can do. Allah is in power of anything, but He will not do silly things.
That's what I'm saying.
Allah will do. Allah can do anything. Allah can put all Muslims in Jahannam, all Kafir in Jannat. There is no question asked.
Okay.
There is no question asked. No one can ask any question. Just like the example of this is we see every day. One is tall, one is good. One is nakta, one is atma. This is all mercy of Allah, and He knows what He want to give, to whom He want to give. No one can ask Him.
Okay.
So for that reason, we should not question that Allah is providing something more on the day of judgment, something more than what I think He deserves it. Because what you think is not the truth.
I think that's
What
more the
Allah knows is the truth.
I agree with my dad. Like I
That's
think
also what I'm saying.
That's
I don't
what-
think it is though.
That's what
Okay,
he's
that's fine,
saying.
that's
That's what
fine.
he's also
Yeah.
saying. But the thing is, main thing is, what he did not, he just not explained is, Allah knows everything behind the
But
screen.
he's saying there's no reason for it though.
No, He can. See, there cannot be no reason for Allah is in full power. He can do anything, but Allah will not do anything which is not fair to Him.
Okay.
So Allah is in control of everything. But what I mean by saying that Allah knows everything is which we don't know. A person is getting something more than another person of same caliber, that Allah knows his real abilities. We
That's
don't
more in
know.
line with what you're saying.
That is more. But he's
Yeah.
saying there's no reason for it.
No. I'm
He just
saying
decides it's
he
just
has
he
the
has it.
authority
Authority,
to
he
do
is,
it with no reason.
authority
That's
cannot
the
be
part.
questioned if what.
I'm not
Right.
questioning authority at all.
He
but I'm
will
saying
not
that-
do that.
But I'm saying
I'm
Allah
both basically saying the both
Allah-
the same thing you're saying and I'm saying, right?
But you're saying that Allah is going to do things that are illogical and maybe some
Yeah,
things
but
deserve.
okay, I'm not agreeing with the illogical part, right?
But it's illogical to say that.
What
two
does it
things
mean?
are
What does
said-
logical mean?
It's
When
like
you say
human
illogical.
logic versus.
Logical by whose perspective?
I don't
By
think
our
it's
perspective?
not.
Okay.
fair.
No, not
You get what you mean? It's not
exactly.
fair.
If
Yeah.
someone's reading is not fair, and you're taking the justice as the default state, I'm taking mercy as the default state.
But it's only illogical to us because we don't
To
have the
you?
capacity
There you
to
go.
understand
Yeah.
all of the different
That's right.
facets of a person's life.
Okay, that's all 100% true. We both agree on that. And I'm saying even then, Allah Ta'ala has authority to give
I'm not
mercy
saying
on
he
the day
doesn't,
of
but I just don't.
Wait,
I
wait,
don't know.
that He has authority to give mercy to someone on the day of judgment without any reason. Okay.
He's
So,
having authority.
so
Sure.
we are saying that some person might, from my perspective, not deserve the mercy. Allah Ta'ala knows their whole situation, and they actually deserve more mercy. That's the part you're saying. I'm saying He even has the authority to give more on top of that.
He's having
and
authority.
it takes
There's no
nothing
question
away
about
from
it.
me.
Like you're saying
So-
reasons that we don't know.
But I'm saying even if I was the person who was getting all the mercy in the world, I just don't think that I would agree with it.
Here,
I don't think Allah's doing that. That's all.
That's
what I'm
fine.
saying.
That's fine. And I'm saying he has the freedom to do that.
Can I add something?
Please.
Okay, so, having alhamdulillah many blessings and many challenges in my life, what I finally came to was that my eyes have to be only on Allah.
Okay.
And so whatever he does for other people or against other people has nothing to do with me and my focus on Allah.
Okay.
And so in this, I constantly come back to complete trust in Allah.
Okay.
So that if he wanted to, because he's God, he could be that guy if he wanted to. He has complete power and authority to do silly things if he wanted to.
Okay.
Okay, I have no say in that. All right, it's his rodeo, as we say, right? Whether or not we believe that he'll
Been in Ohio
that's a
too long.
different story.
Man, rodeo.
Okay, but the important thing for me in my life is that my eyes are on Allah, and I have complete trust that whatever he does for me and whatever he does for other people is going to be what needs to happen. If I worked my entire life and tried to be the best person I could be, and somehow whatever happened messed that up, I don't know, and God put me in the hellfire, even that, I'm like, okay, God, it's yours.
Yeah.
You decide, I am completely yours. You put me where you need to be. You put whatever you need in my life, good or bad. It is all, as far as I'm concerned, it's a blessing. The blessings are challenges, the good things are challenges, and the bad things can be ease or blessing for me. Because it's Allah's rodeo. It's completely his to own and manage and direct in whatever way he wants to. That's it, period. That's my entire life. So in that, there's peace for me, because I don't have to figure out why and how and what did I do. Okay, even if I mess up, even if I make a really bad choice and there's consequences for that, right? Allah has determined that. Other people mess up really bad in the same way and nothing happens to them. Okay, it's Allah's rodeo. He gets to decide what happens to people that out of their control and in their control. So that's my 2 cents.
What do you think?
I don't disagree with anything she said.
So
I
neither do I.
agree.
Okay, let me run out as fast as I can. Okay, next time, inshallah, we will get into monafics. Third one.
Ooh, fun.
Okay.
Second and last again.
जी?
उसके बाद माफ कर देता हूँ।
जी, जी.
After that, we'll-
Hey, any last questions or anything? If it's wheels are still turning. No. Okay.
My wheels
Would
have,
you like
I've
to-
got my car's carb.
Last week's summary. Would anyone like to do that? So we can next week.
Are we going to meet next week?
Supposed to.
I'm fine if we do. It's just a lot of Islamic organizations are closing because it's just before Eid.
I think.
What are they doing?
Somebody breaking
Seriously,
a door.
I thought Eid is the 15th.
Yeah,
What, do we have an official day for Eid?
if you follow